I want to start with the President's visit to Egypt, where Kenya and Egypt have signed 4 key memorandums of understanding aimed at fostering strategic partnerships between the two nations. The agreements focus on critical areas such as maritime security, renewable energy, veterinary services, and electricity. During the first day of a 2-day state visit in Cairo, President William Ruto further called for collaboration in 12 other areas, including security, investment, youth empowerment, gender equality in higher education, and urban development for progress and stability.
During the signing of the MOUs, President William Ruto emphasized the importance of this partnership in addressing mutual challenges, particularly in trade and security.
These agreements will strengthen trade, investment, education, and technological exchange, unlocking immense opportunities for both our nations.
The president expressed optimism that the agreements will pave the way for increased cooperations in various sectors, ultimately benefiting both nations' economies. The MOUs also included provisions for joint efforts in peacekeeping and security, particularly in conflict-affected regions such as Somalia and South Sudan.
Discussions are at an advanced stage to finalize critical agreements in customs cooperation, security, tourism, mining, blue economy, sports development, and groundwater agreement. I trust that we shall swiftly conclude all the pending matters and have the MOUs come into force as soon as practicable. This will further reinforce our shared vision for economic transformation and sustainable development for the benefit of our peoples.
According to President Ruto, commitment to regional stability underscores the broader implications of this partnership beyond mere economic interest, as both nations will work to address the root causes of conflict and promote sustainable peace in the region.
Our continent is slowly becoming the theater of terrorism and conflict. And unless and until we have a coherent, cohesive, and well-thought-out plan on how to deal with the challenges of conflict and terrorism, our continent will continue to suffer the weight of underdevelopment, and no meaningful engagement, development, trade, investment, or progress can be achieved in our continent until together we harmonize our thoughts and revamp the peace and security architecture in our continent. And the place to start is at the African Union.
President William Ruto used the engagement to campaign for Kenya's candidacy in the race to replace Musa Faki at the African Union Commission.
Kenya undertakes to work with Egypt in all the other areas that are of mutual interest. And I did inform my brother of Kenya and Kenya's nomination of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as its candidate for the chairperson of Africa Union Commission, and continue to seek the collaboration and partnership as we have done in the past for support of our candidates.
To matters health now, where the Ministry of Health will re-evaluate its budget to deal with disruptions anticipated as a result of the withdrawal of aid to key health programs by the United States of America. According to Medical Services Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai, the government is ready to handle any prevailing situation to ensure that there is a flow of services. This comes as the Health Director General, Dr. Patrick Amoth, assured the public of buffer stock for HIV and AIDS as supplies to last the country for 6 months. Nancy Okware with the details.
Countries around the globe have continued to brace for tough times ahead following the recent announcement by the United States suspending support for critical health programs. In anticipation of disruptions, especially in accessing HIV and AIDS, malaria and tuberculosis commodities, Medical Services Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai says they will review the budget.
We are going to sit down with the Treasury and make sure that we continue funding support to those patients who are receiving ARVs, those patients who are on malaria treatment. The nets we must continue distributing the nets. So it's just a question of now changing or adding additional resources through the National Treasury as opposed to where we're relying on the development partners.
At the same time, the Ministry of Health Director General Dr. Patrick Amoth has assured the public that following the suspension of the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief PEPFAR, the country has adequate strategic stocks.
That we have sufficient stocks of HIV commodities, be it antiretrovirals, be it the testing commodities. We have strengthened our supply chain pipeline in the last 1-2 years to ensure that at any given time we have more than 6 months of stock.
The Minister of Health says that some of the interventions in place to deal with anticipated disruptions include actively engaging with other development partners, international agencies and private sector stakeholders to secure alternative resources and fill the gaps in supply of essential medicine. Kenya is also emphasizing regional and global solidarity to support health financing. Other interventions include strengthening local pharmaceutical manufacturing to ensure self-sustenance. According to data from PEPFAR, as of September 2024, it supported 20.6 million people with antiretroviral drugs across 55 countries. This number includes 566,000 children. Kenya, which is largely supported by global initiatives, has 1.4 million people living with HIV and AIDS. Meanwhile, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has challenged Africa to harness the vast resources available in the continent to improve healthcare instead of depending on donor aid.
Let us be self-reliant by ensuring that we deal with the challenges that we have in order for us to be able to free resources for where they are most needed. I saw some people the other day crying, oh, I don't know, Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country. He has no reason to give you anything. I mean, you don't pay taxes in America.
The former head of state made the remarks in Mombasa County when he attended the East Africa Region Global Health Security Summit.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has dismissed former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and his opposition allies for their one-term remarks during the launch of the new headquarters for DAP Kenya Party on Monday. Terming the remarks as cheap threats, Professor Kindiki says the government will not dwell on populist politics but will instead remain focused on service delivery for the people. Give us a minor with more.
In Karen, Nairobi, in a consultative meeting with leaders drawn from Tharaka Nithi County.
So usitutishe ati rais a one-term president. Pia watu wengine wanatutisha huko jana.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki fired back at his predecessor Rigathi Gachagua for claiming the Kenya Kwanza administration will be a one-term government.
President Ruto is lucky to be among the 5 Kenyans who have occupied the seat of President of Kenya. Some, 24 years. Others, 10 years. If he gets 5, so be it.
He said Gachagua boycotted his duties in the past 2 years and now had resorted to inciting the public after his removal from office.
There was somebody in this office. Today he's not here. Now he's giving us ultimatum from funerals. How he will make William Ruto a one-term president, as if that is an achievement.
Professor Kindiki is saying the government will not be swayed to backtrack on his programs by threats of political consequences.
William Ruto's objective is not to serve for 2 terms. It is to use the time that God will give him in office to bring transformative programs in 1, 2, 3 areas and then leave.
Throwing a jab at Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Professor Kindiki said he should also tell Kenyans what he accomplished when he served as Kenya's vice president.
Si Kalonzo Musyoka alikuwa vice president? Si ni kama mimi? Yeye alikuwa 5 years under Kibaki. So akifika pale Tharaka Nithi, the people will ask him, when you were vice president, can you give us one project hapa ile ulitusukumia?
Seemingly taking a swipe at Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi, the Deputy President said government officials flying flags should quit fast and join the opposition before criticizing the government.
But you cannot be a Deputy President and sabotaging the same government, or a minister flying a flag and then you are sabotaging the same administration. Not possible.
Professor Kindiki vowed to revive all stalled government projects across the country to make true their promises to Kenyans before the 2027 general elections.
To the scales of justice now, where Sarah Wairimu, the widow of the late Dutch tycoon Tob Cohen, has pleaded not guilty to the murder of her late husband. The Director of Public Prosecutions, that is Renson Molele, preferred a fresh murder charge on her last week after finding new evidence linking her to the offense. Sarah, who has been in custody since last Friday, suffered another setback in her quest to secure freedom from the Langata Women's Prison, where she will stay until Monday, the 3rd of February.
Wednesday at Kibera High Court, Sarah Cohen was presented in court after spending 5 days in custody. The DPP and the DCI were combing investigations, including having Wairimu assessed mentally before pleading to the murder charge. Lady Justice Diana Kavesa was informed that she was mentally fit to stand trial. However, through her lawyer, Wairimu opposed taking a plea. The judge will then adjourn to go and look at the medical records before making a ruling in the afternoon.
Both parties can undertake to submit it at any time for the court's reference, but we request that the court allows that the accused person takes the plea and, using the words of the court, forthwith.
And when she walked inside the courtroom, Wairimu was ordered to take a plea.
Within Nairobi County, in the Republic of Kenya, jointly with others before court, murdered Tob Chichu Cohen. Is it true or not true? Definitely not true.
Wairimu is accused of killing Cohen in 2019 and had previously been charged with the same offense before it was terminated in November 2022. For lack of sufficient evidence, will remain at Langata Women's Prison until Monday next week, awaiting bail ruling.
On 3rd of February at 11. Civil cases are confrontational. That is why we do physical attendances. So please pardon us for that.
The late Cohen's body was discovered in a septic tank at his Kitusuru home in July 2019. Elsewhere, the DPP is facing heavy criticism for delaying the prosecution of 11 senior police officers accused of murdering baby Samantha Pendo.
It is better to even allow 10 men to go scot-free than to incarcerate wrongfully an innocent suspect.
When the matter came up for mentioning, the newly transferred judge to Milimani High Court, Margaret Muigai, who has been assigned the case, was informed by the victims' lawyers that over the 7-year journey wait should kick off by the officers taking plea.
People are taking plea in the absence of others. They are charged with others not before court. But in this particular case, the absence of another becomes a ground to seek an adjournment.
They dismissed the DPP's argument that the absence of one suspect, Mohamed Ba, should delay the indictment of the remaining 10 officers.
Tomorrow in the afternoon, at about 3,
I think I'll be able to deliver what I've been put in the directions.
Baby Pendo died after being hit by anti-riot police officers who are pursuing protesters in their home. With the Director of Public Prosecution asking for more time in Baby Pendo's case, the victims' lawyers have vehemently opposed the application, stating that justice delayed is justice denied.
Thank you, Ruth Wamboy. Now to the DRC conflict, where the escalating conflict in Goma, eastern DRC, could adversely affect Kenya's economy if not quickly resolved. Speaking in a phone interview with the KBC TV news desk, foreign policy analyst Gordon Kochola cautioned that Kenya's resources could be further stretched by an upsurge in refugees flocking the country from DRC. This as M23 rebels continue to battle DRC troops in Goma for the third day in a row.
For more than 72 hours, Goma city in eastern DRC has witnessed fierce battles between M23 rebels and the DRC army and its allies. The clashes, which have left hundreds injured, did not come as a surprise, with analysts citing DRC's government's inability to solely contain the rebels.
Then we saw when the East African Standby Force went to DRC. They were asked by DRC to leave. Kenya went there. Kenya was asked to leave the forces. The preceding events clearly indicated that there is a rift, a gap that is being created between the government and the rebels, and either of the side was to take charge. It's unfortunate that the rebels took charge before the government did.
According to foreign policy analyst Gordon Kochola, the nation has every reason to worry about the escalating tension in the DRC, since Kenyans have invested heavily in the country, especially in trade and financial sectors.
It should worry any Kenyan that, well, our people who are in DRC are at risk. But that aside, when there's a conflict, we've had conflicts within East African community. And whenever there is a conflict, you will always see influx of refugees. Some of these refugees will not just go to the neighboring Uganda and Rwanda. Some of them will come over to Kenya.
Clashes in DRC between M23 rebels and the army and its allies have left hospitals overwhelmed by casualties and bodies on the streets. According to the UN, essential services have been unavailable since the offensive began, with electricity, water and internet cut. On Wednesday, M23 rebels tightened their grip on Goma city, with local media reporting that while fighting appears to have eased in most parts of Goma, sporadic gunfire continued in northern areas. This was as hundreds of Romanian mercenaries hired to fight for Congo entered Rwanda under the strict supervision of Rwanda security forces. With President William Ruto expected to convene crisis talks aimed at ending the rebels' assault, analysts say the onus is on the DRC government to set the tone for an amicable solution to the crisis.
Thank you, Joseph Wakungu. We now look at business, where the private sector has been encouraged to increase investments in the artificial intelligence space to tap its economic potential. Information Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo says Kenya will leverage on the private sector equity to develop AI infrastructure in a bid to cement Kenya's position as a regional digital hub.
The market for artificial intelligence grew beyond $184 billion in 2024. The US is injecting a further $500 billion in private sector equity to create infrastructure for artificial intelligence to catalyze growth in the sector. The Kenyan private sector has been encouraged to increase investments into the AI space to tap into the global expansion and potential. Information Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo says the government will tap into the private sector equity to develop an AI infrastructure to assist local digital startups enhance their capabilities and compete globally.
Africa has been marginalized in global AI discussions, often viewed as a passive consumer rather than an active contributor. This narrative must change. We must invest in our own AI capabilities enabling us to develop solutions tailored to our unique context and challenges.
Everything we are doing on AI in Kenya is about partnership and collaboration. AI presents similar challenges to governments and societies around the world, and by working together we can also maximize the opportunities that it can bring.
Plans are also underway to start training civil servants on artificial intelligence as part of digitizing government services.
Today we have the opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue, exchange ideas, and challenge one another as we explore AI's potential to become a powerful tool for socio-economic and political transformation.
Kenya will leverage on the African Union AI Charter to enhance cybersecurity and responsible online use to protect online consumers from exploitation.
We remain steadfast in championing continental cooperation in an inclusive and collaborative manner, ensuring that AI serves the public good, it amplifies our shared values, and benefits all of humanity.
Let us seize this opportunity to shape the future of AI in a way that reflects our values, protects our rights, and unlocks the vast potential of our continent.
A look at sports now, where the Confederation of African Football Executive Committee has set new dates for the 2024 Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship. The 2024 CHAN, to be co-hosted by Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda, will kick off from the 2nd to the 30th of August this year.
The Africa Nations Championship was scheduled to take place from 1st to 20th of February this year, but CAF postponed it to the 2nd to 30th of August to ensure infrastructure facilities were in requisite standards to co-host the championship in Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. The draw was nevertheless conducted at the KICC in Nairobi, where Kenya was placed in Group A with 2-time champions Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia. The CAF Executive Committee, chaired by the President Dr. Patrice Motsepe, also approved the match calendar for the 2025 African Cup of Nations, which is scheduled to take place from 21st of December to 18th of January 2026 in 6 cities in Morocco, namely Rabat, Casablanca, Agadir, Marrakesh, Fez and Tajia. The 2025 CAF Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers format has also been revised from 12 to 16 participating teams.
And athletes have been called upon to break the silence and fight for their rights as they pursue their dreams during the National Olympics Committee of Kenya 2-day gender conference that concluded yesterday in Nairobi.
Gender conference has seen different sportsmen and women who made it into their career raise concerns about alarming issues that affect them so that they can help others find a common ground to solve them.
Even as an athlete, what is it that you want? Do you want to have many world records? Do you want to win the Olympics? Do you want to, develop sports in communities? What is that? Articulate that, right? And then it's a point of then how do you, what's the best place of putting it there?
Today's dialogue was led by 2-time Boston Marathon champion Ellen Obiri, who narrated how they persevered in their chase for glory, adding that they should be supported in every step, regardless of the result.
Sometimes it's a challenge to wake up in the morning like 5, uko kwa barabara, kuna vumbi, unakaa ile maisha tunasema si yako. But it's good, kukaa ile maisha si yako right now. At the end of your career, enjoy, you will go along the world.
Obiri was also concerned about the rising cases of gender-based violence being witnessed in the sports and called for the athletes' protection.
Life of sports, it's all about business. Because if not so business, we could not be where we are today. So it's all about business, and you see like which company it has the best offer for you.
And as the conference came to an end today, Federation representatives were mandated to offer various life skills to their members to empower them.
We've come to the end of the news this morning. Thank you so much for your time. Good Morning Kenya still continues, so stay with us if you can. My colleague Mike Megwe will be up next with a discussion on the youth and governance processes. My name is Marie Yambo.